Max Verstappen's Mercedes GT3 revolution. The F1 season is over. The champagne's dry. The trophies are locked away. And yet, there's Max Verstappen, drenched in Portuguese rain, sliding a Mercedes through the corners of Estoril. Not for Red Bull, not for Formula One, for something bigger. Because while the world celebrates 4 titles, Verstappen is already chasing the race that Red Bull won't let him win. The 24 hours of Nürburgring. And the machine he's testing? It's not just a GT3 car. It's a declaration of war against his own schedule and possibly his own team. So here's the question. Is Max Verstappen preparing for 2026? Or is he preparing to walk away from F1 entirely? December 2024. Estoril, Portugal. Cold, wet, unforgiving. Most F1 drivers are on beaches. Verstappen? He's testing the Mercedes-AMG GT3 with 2Cs Motorsport, a team that could become his gateway to endurance racing glory. And here's where it gets interesting. Verstappen.com Racing, Max's own GT team, is reportedly switching from Ferrari to Mercedes for the GT World Challenge Europe next season. That's not a small move. That's a strategic pivot. Why Mercedes? 2 reasons. First, Chris Lullum, Max's teammate. He prefers the Mercedes over the Ferrari. Says it's more manageable, more developed, more reliable under pressure. But that's just surface level. Because the second reason? That's the one that changes everything. Max Verstappen met with top AMG officials. Not just engineers, not just team managers. The top. And according to sources, those meetings weren't just about his team. They were about his future. Windward Racing, Mercedes-AMG's factory-backed GT team. That's reportedly Verstappen's first choice if he tackles the Nürburgring 24 hours in 2026. Not maybe, not someday. 2026, 2 years away. And he's already laying the groundwork. But here's the problem. The race Max wants to run, the one that's haunted him since he competed in the NLS earlier this year, doesn't just conflict his GT ambitions. It conflicts with Formula One. At first glance, this looks easy. The 2026 Nürburgring 24 hours doesn't clash with an F1 weekend. Perfect timing, right? Wrong. Because Max Verstappen doesn't just want to show up and race. That's not who he is. He wants to win. And winning the 24 hours requires preparation. Real preparation. That means racing in NLS 1, the first round of the Nürburgring Langstrecken Series. The warm-up. The testing ground. The race where you learn the track, the car, and the chaos of the Nordschleife at full speed. And NLS 1? It's scheduled the same weekend as the 2026 Chinese Grand Prix. So here's the twist. Max Verstappen isn't just testing a Mercedes. He's testing whether Formula One will bend, or if he'll be the one to break. Let's talk about what actually happened at Estoril. This wasn't a joyride. This was a reference test. Verstappen was benchmarking himself against the Mercedes GT3's usual drivers, measuring his pace, his adaptability, his feel for a front-engine car. And here's what most people are missing. The Mercedes-AMG GT3 is fundamentally different from an F1 car. The engine's in the front. The balance is completely inverted. The braking zones, the turn-in points, the throttle application, everything Max has mastered in Formula One has to be relearned. But Verstappen didn't just adapt. He thrived. Because when Max competed in the NLS earlier this year, he didn't just participate, he made an impact. The kind of impact that made the NLS organizers sit up and pay attention. And now, they're considering modifying the 2026 race schedule to accommodate him. Read that again. An entire racing series, one of the most prestigious endurance championships in the world, is willing to shift its calendar for one driver. That's not celebrity treatment. That's respect. That's understanding the commercial and competitive value Max Verstappen brings to any grid he touches. And it's proof that Max isn't just thinking about GT racing as a hobby. He's building an empire outside Formula One. So what does this mean? For Max Verstappen, it means freedom. The 24 hours of Nürburgring isn't just a bucket list race. It's a statement. A reminder that he doesn't need F1 to prove he's the best driver on the planet. For Red Bull, it's a warning shot. Because every hour Max spends in a Mercedes GT3 is an hour he's not thinking about Red Bull racing. And if the 2026 season becomes another political mess, another year of fighting over regulations, team orders, or championship controversies, Max has already shown he's willing to look elsewhere. For Formula One, It's a credibility problem. Because the sport's biggest star is openly planning a racing career that conflicts with their calendar. And if F1 refuses to accommodate him, if they force him to choose, they might lose. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Max Verstappen doesn't need Formula One anymore. For titles, legendary status, financial security, he's already cemented his legacy. But Formula One needs Max Verstappen desperately. And the moment he steps away, even part-time, the sport loses its most dominant, most controversial, most watchable driver. That's leverage. And Max knows it. So where does this go? 3 possibilities. Scenario 1. The NLS moves its schedule. Max races Nürburgring. Red Bull grits its teeth and supports him publicly while fuming privately. He wins the 24 hours. Becomes the first F1 driver to dominate both championships in the same season. His legend grows. Red Bull's control, it shrinks. Scenario 2. F1 refuses to budge. Max skips NLS 1. Shows up to the 24 hours underprepared. Finishes midfield. The dream dies. But the resentment? That stays. And every time Red Bull asks him to sacrifice something for the team, he remembers the race they wouldn't let him run. Scenario 3. Max walks. Not from Red Bull. From Formula One. Because at some point, the politics, the travel, the endless PR obligations, it all becomes noise. And the only place he feels truly alive is behind the wheel of a car with no team orders, no championship pressure, no one telling him what he can or cannot do. The Nordschleife doesn't care about your titles. It only cares if you're brave enough. And Max Verstappen? He's Aurea. DY proven he is. But here's what we still don't know. Will Red Bull let him race? Or will they draw a line in the sand? Is Windward Racing really his target team? Or is there another deal being negotiated behind closed doors? And most importantly, is Max Verstappen testing a GT3 car in Portugal, or is he testing his own limits of what life looks like beyond Formula One? Because one thing's certain, the off-season might be quiet for most drivers. But for Max Verstappen, the race never stops. And when he finally lines up at the Nürburgring in 2026, whether in a Mercedes, a Ferrari, or something else entirely, the world will be watching. Not because he's a 4-time world champion, but because he's the only driver crazy enough to prove he can conquer everything. If you made it this far, you already know, this isn't just about GT racing. It's about legacy, control, and what happens when the best driver in the world decides he's done playing by someone else's rules. So tell me, is Max Verstappen building his exit strategy, or is he building something even bigger?